Okay, now let's focus on this bubble chart to start with. One good example which I have looked at from this data is, let's say I want to plot a three-dimensional kind of a graph. On one side, I want the names of the players. On the other side, the years, right from 1974 till date. And at the intersection, I want the bubble. It's a three-dimensional. As we have discussed, as a part of a scatter, it should be a relation between three variables, three numbers, right? Because we have to plot between one variable on the x-axis, one on the y-axis, and one as a bubble. But I can even try to take a nominal variable, like let's say the player name or years, and think of creating a bubble. So let's say I would like that kind of a requirement where I want to take the player names in one location. Let's say here I want to take the list of all the player names. Here I want to take all the years, and at this intersection I want to plot the bubble. So for that, the data has to be tuned up. The data tuning has to happen because all three variables which I am looking at actually should be numbers. Whereas the name is not a number, even the year is a number itself, but again it may or may not be uniformly spaced. So what I can typically look at is first transform the data so that I can make it look like all three of them. I can make them look like numbers, which means for each player I'll assign one number, 1 to whatever 200. If there are 200 players, I'll assign each of them one number. So that will be my x-axis variable. The y-axis variable, the years. Even for each year, let me assign one number, 1 to 40 years. And the z-axis variable or the bubble variable is typically the, let's say, the runs scored in that year, right? So I mean, I would like to see a bubble typically like this. Let's say I want to take this data, so I'll pull up the names of the players. I want to pull up the names of the players. So I'll take up to the last. Or I need to pull up. Alright, otherwise let me simply copy paste the names. I want the names of the variable, names of the players. I'll remove the duplicates. Okay, this is the list of names of the players, and here I want to have, let's say, the years, 1974, 1975, and so on. So this I would like to have probably up to 2012, right? So this entire thing, let me make it smaller. These entire windows, I mean these entire width of the columns, I'll make this smaller by making it, let's say, 4. All right. Okay, so I can simplify it a little bit more. Okay, so this is, in this I want to have a bubble for each of these players, right? 2011, 12, or each of these I want to have a bubble at the intersection here. Now to create a bubble at this intersection, first of all I need the data, right? So what I can very well do is to create the data, I need to have year-wise scores of each of the person. So I'll simply do a sum ifs kind of a formula to just to get the data. I'll do a sum ifs where the sum range I'll put the runs. This is the summation range. The criteria range is the player name should be equal to this player, and the year column, which is this M column, should be equal to this year. So I'll get how many runs this guy has scored in each of the periods. So I'll put all the appropriate dollars before I drag it. So the player name, so I'll put a dollar here. Yeah, AL column needs to be fixed, and here the first row needs to be fixed. Okay, so I'll get the complete scores for each of these participants year wise. For each of the players year wise, I am getting some data. Okay, so this is the typical data for each of the players. Now what I would like to see is, instead of the runs here, because it's not that easy for me to look at the runs, I would like to actually look at the bubbles. That is where I am trying to create the bubble chart. But the bubble chart will be more and more interesting, or can be possible, only if the three variables which I am looking at are numbers. So what I am trying to do is, I am trying to create three variables called x, y, and probably z or whatever bubble. So I need one variable on the x-axis, one variable on the y-axis, and probably the bubble. Right? So let me treat x means years, or x could be the players. X could very well be the players. So what I'll do is, I'll take the players, I'll number each of them 1, 2. There are 192 such players. So because I have to convert them, right, the mechanism which I am following just to illustrate a better bubble. So these are the player names, right? 1 to 192 I am using for the players. So this one I have to make n number of copies, at least for each of the years. There are 1974 to 2012, so almost 39 years are there. So let me make the 39 copies of this data. So the 39 copies of this. So I am just trying to make a bubble chart look more and more interesting, in a way, even if the data does not contain actual data variables, I can still plot a bubble chart by giving a unique number to these nominal variables. Right here, my nominal variables are the name of the player. So for each player I am giving one kind of notation. For each player I am giving some kind of numbering. So I am in this process I am actually setting the data. So my data set is containing the x-axis. I am maintaining one variable, which is the name of the player. So I have copied it 40 times, because I want at the intersection of all these. Okay. Then the y for me is the years. The y is the years. So I can make it 1 to 39 or something, each of the years. So I can very well pull out each of the years. So let me say for each of the person. So I'll simply start off with 1. 1 is there for the first set. For the first set, I'll give this players as 1. Then from here, I'll write a formula. I'll increment this by 1 till the last. So I am actually making my data in such a way that I can use a bubble on this. So 1 is my x variable, which is the name of the player. So because it has to be a numerical variable, I have given some quantification to those guys. Even year is already a numerical variable, but I have quantified it by giving a serial number kind of stuff, so that they are equally spaced and plotted. Now in the bubble, I am trying to get the data of the scores. So which means first player, first year. What is his score? Which I can get through the index function of this. I can apply the index function on this entire table. And so if I start, let's say from here, 1 row, 1 column. In this intersection, row number 1, if I say this is my intersection area, this entire table, I can, if I say row number 1 and column number 1, it will pull out this value and display there. So this index is what I'll use here. So I'll say equal to index, where in this index I'll take this entire area. Right from here, I'll take this entire area as my index. This is the area I am selecting as the index with probable the dollars. So in this area, I want to pull out this row. Right, there are so many rows. This row and this column value. So this is how I'll set up my bubble input. So to plot a bubble chart, we require 3 variables. Instead of having 3 data variables, I am starting off with, even if there is a nominal variable, name variable, text variable, I am thinking of quantifying that text variable so that I can plot a good bubble chart. Right? So I am doing this process. Now what I can do is I can take these 3 as input and I can create a bubble chart. Now let's say I'll take this entire range as the input. Which one? This first one? So I have taken 5 at a time, and I have taken 5, I have copied 5 at a time. First I have copied 5, one after the other. 5 at a time, copy and paste it. So it's, or 10 at a time, copy and paste. I mean, you can very well use some kind of a formula also, where probably you should be able to count some number, how many times it has occurred. So if the counting from this location to this location is less than 40, you increase it. So that can also be done, but because we require it on a simpler note, I have just done a copy paste. Okay, so on this I'm going out for insert and going for a bubble chart. Okay, up to here it looks pretty odd, whereas it is taking some numbers on x-axis. We don't even know what it is taking, some numbers on the x-axis and some numbers on the y-axis. But for me, as an intention, my bubble information I have to change. I know what needs to be taken on the x-axis. Right? I should know what needs to be taken on the y-axis and z-axis. So I'll remove whatever the bubble it has plotted. I'll add a new data where I have to talk about what is the series. So probably I'll just call it as a bubble. After that anyhow we'll delete it. I'll call it as a bubble. The x values I'll take from here till last. These are my x, right? From the first occurrence till the last occurrence, I am taking my x. Then my y also, I'll select from this to last. And as a part of my bubble, again I'll select from first to last. These three are selected. Now if I see the plot, okay, now let's look at our bubble. Where is our bubble chart? Alright, let me again plot that bubble. Okay, in this location, okay, in this location I am saying insert bubble chart. Oh, no, this is not. Insert bubble chart. Okay, here I am making a select data where I am adding my series as bubble, my x-axis from here to here, my y-axis from here to here, and my z-axis or the bubble axis from here to here. Okay, let's test it out now. So this is how the bubble is representing now, where we are seeing, or we have to put the names are on the parallel axis. The names are vertical and the years are horizontal. So probably let's edit the bubble a little bit. Moving, the name should be on the vertical axis. So y-axis, let me put it as the names. So instead of taking the x here, let me take the name on the x-axis. I'll take this one, and I'll take on the y-axis. I'll take the names. Okay, now if I see this is the modified bubble for us. Okay, so it is showing some kind of a plotting like this, but my intention here is I would like to actually replace this data with the bubble. So I want to superimpose the bubble on this so that I can see a better scoring for the person, instead of seeing, okay, how much did this guy, okay, this guy B Arun 8, 13. It's not that easy to make out. So I want to replace these numbers with the bubbles. So what I am thinking to do is, this entire bubble chart, I'll try to superimpose it. I'll try to superimpose it on the data. Now let's see this. I am trying to superimpose this bubble onto the data, trying to take care of the relevant formatting of this. It actually gives almost a replacement to our data. Okay, so I have replaced it exactly on the top of this data, right? I'll even drag it to the right, this entire area. I'll drag it down to fit our entire data area. So instead of actually putting numbers, I am trying to replace it with the bubble. The size of the bubble will clearly tell me who all have played during what years, who all have performed better kind of numbers. My bubble can directly give me. Alright, until here I am trying to drag it. Now once I dragged it, I am seeing that the bubble size is still much higher. So what I can think of looking at is making the bubble size smaller. So I click on the bubble, format data series, width of the bubble, or let it be area of the bubble itself, but the scale the bubble size, let's say to 10. Immediately you are seeing much smaller bubbles, probably with names against each of the players. That's something which we can see. Yeah. I'll see. It's nothing but for each of this person, what is the number of runs he has scored. Okay, so this, okay, the person number 200 is being shown at the top, whereas I want the person number 1 to be shown at the top. So I'll select this graph, right? Probably once we complete the whole process, we can see the formatting also. I'll select this axis and I'll say plot in the reverse order. So when I am plotting in the reverse order, the person who is 1 should come at the top. And also the axis, it is showing my up to minus 20 here. So I don't want minus 20 to be shown on the axis. So I'll clearly set a minimum and maximum values to my axis because they are the names of the people. So I'll simply say the axis, the vertical axis should contain a minimum value of 1 and a maximum value of fixed 192, because there are 192 players exactly in our list. So because of this, okay, now you see there is a slight improvement. Player wise it shows, right, for each of the players. Now if I just try to remove, okay, this heading I'll remove. Then even this axis I'll remove. Even this axis I'll try to remove. I'll try to make the graph as much as visible as possible. Then what I am doing is I am also making this chart area more and more transparent. So I am removing all the fillings on the chart. So I'll make it no fill. Border wise I'll make it no line. Okay. And the plot area also I'll do the same thing. Plot area also I'll make it as no fill. So now if we are seeing this, now let me try to drag it in such a way that it superimposes. Okay, now I am trying to drag this in such a way that these numbers are simply superimposed. Alright, now if you simply try to see, a small dragging here and there. Yeah, I'm trying to drag it till the last. Yeah, now if we see the way the positioning is occurring, no, it, yeah, just, I mean, it's only a matter of small drag. Yeah, now more or less it is looks like a line. Okay, if I take, yeah, yeah. Now if we see, okay, let me try to adjust this a little bit by removing even this axis. Okay, even removing the grid lines. Yeah, now even when I try to work out on the data to try to remove this data, see this data, what I am doing is to make the grid lines look much better. This entire data, I'll format it with, let's say, a white color. This entire data, I'll simply format it with a white color. Oh, yeah, not the filling, sorry. The font I'll make it with a white color. And now what we are simply observing is the grid lines corresponding to each of the, I mean the plot corresponding to each of the players. Now if you see for this guy Mohammad Azharuddin, this is what is his plot. So for this guy, this is, I mean, I can very well say that in these years, he has scored quite more compared to the others. Or probably even you remove the plot area also. Plot area also, let's say you make it no fill, and even the chart area, even insert or go into the design chart area, the entire chart area also make it as no fill. The entire chart area also, let's say you select no filling, and what you are simply seeing is in this location you can make out year wise, and even I need to remove this, has to show in the columns itself. So even if I remove this heading, and even this border, I mean this plot area, even this has to go off. Okay, let me just repeat it again. Yeah. Now if we see, we are getting it inside this grid itself. For each of the years, we are seeing player wise how much he has, I mean, what is his contribution in each of these years. Now, in each of the grid itself, you are getting. So, grid wise, you can make a summary, right? So, if, instead of, see, for example, for this guy Rahul Dravid, we can very well make out that this year is of a very serious contribution kind of an year. So, in 17, so in here he has made around 1761 run. So this bubble size is much bigger for him in this, and probably there are 4 5 years in which he has performed well. Similarly, if I look at, let's say, this person Sachin Tendulkar, I see that these are the years where he has performed. Right from this year to this year is what is the space in which he has performed. So, like this, what we are observing is for each of the players, there is a grid that is, so for Saurav Ganguly, this is what we are seeing as the grid. Right. So, for each of the players, probably I can quickly see, I mean, if my data is too long, probably I need a lot of things to scroll down. But if my data is smaller enough, what I can very well look at is, instead of having the data in number form, I can very well have it in the form of the bubbles like this. So logically, what is it is, if the data is more in the form of numbers, and we are trying to look at the relationship between two or more number or three numbers, three sets of numbers, we are looking at creating a bubble chart. But here what we are trying to experiment is, even if the data is not in the form of numbers, all three are not in the form of numbers, I can still think of creating a bubble chart by quantifying the textual data. Now I wanted to find a relationship between three units. One, the players' names, two, the years, and three is the runs scored in each of the years. So I could have maintained that entire thing in a number format. But if I provided something in a bubble format, there is always a possibility that I can maintain it much bigger and much better. Probably, yeah. If this size is even more bigger, if this size, my column size is even more bigger, I can see it in each of the bubbles. But yeah, the more and more bigger the bubble size is getting, more and more overlapped. So it's a matter of me selecting the whole area and then trying to drag the plot area so that I can do the bubble. I can use the bubbles for making the necessary interpretation. The higher the size of the bubble, the better it is in this year. Let's say for this person named Sunil Gavaskar, first 1-2 years are not that big, but probably towards the end of this career, the numbers are much bigger. So the interpretation can very well be made once I have formed this. But of course, in our example here, the numbers are very high in number. The number of data elements are pretty large. But if we are trying it out with only few elements, the conclusions can very well easily be made based on the data. See here, the way we are superimposing will matter a lot. The reason being, these two are two disjoint things. The names we have taken explicitly, it's not generated by the bubble chart. The years are not generated by the bubble chart. We have only taken the bubble chart, removed all the headings of that chart, and we just try to superimpose it in our spreadsheet location. So that though we have quantified these people, though we have quantified these years, still I am maintaining the same headings and superimposing the bubble chart on the top of this data. See, creating a bubble chart is a simpler aspect, but trying to link these two things and trying to use even a nominal variable whose values are text, maintaining those numbers. If I plot it as a normal bubble chart, I'll have the variables on the x-axis. 1 to 50 numbers will be there on the x-axis. 1 to 200 will be there on the y-axis. Then there may not be any meaning to that bubble. Right? Unless all three data are quantified, I cannot plot the bubble. But I want the interpretation as the names, not the quantified value. So what I am doing is, for plotting the bubble, I have quantified the numbers. But for displaying, again I am getting back to the original text and just try to superimpose the bubble on the location of the data text. Right? So even if the data is not 3, see, the regular scenario in which we plot the bubble is 3 numerical data variables, x, y, z. So if I want to see, for just like yesterday, for this stock price, for this number of shares, what is the turnover? That is, all three are numerical variables. So I can very well try to put a bubble trying to see the relationship between the three variables. But this is the place where the bubble becomes more interesting. Even if I have a textual variable, let's say I have 5 players. Why this much complex? Okay, let's try to simplify this so that things become even more easier for us. See, let me try to simplify it where I'll take only 5 players. Why so many, guys? I'll only take 5 players and 5 years. Right? That will simplify our understand. So you can do it for any bigger aspect, but it can very well be simplified. Let's say I'll take only 5 players. I'll take only 5 players. Okay, for these 5 guys, I want to see the performance only in the last 4-5 years. Only this much. A simpler way, we are trying to imitate the same bubble logic. Only this much. I want to put the bubbles in this area. So first of all, I am capturing the data using some ifs. Sorry? Yeah, the same way, but making it simpler so that superimposing looks much better. Right? I am taking it as some ifs on this column. This, the name of the player, then the year, just quickly doing it. The year where we are taking, this is the year. This is the same piece which we have done. Of course, put appropriate dollars. Here A is fixed and here 78 is fixed. Okay, so these are the numbers. Now corresponding to these numbers, I want to plot the bubble chart. Right, these are the numbers. So I want to take the names on one axis, names as one variable, the years as one variable, and the data has to be plotted in a bubble. So these are the three x, y, z dimension. So what I'll do is on x-axis I want the years. So there are 6 years that are there. So I'll take the bubble variables like this. So I'll transform my data for plotting the bubble in this model. X variable, y variable and the bubble variable. So x I want the years. I'll quantify the years because there are 6 years. Right? I'll take them as 1 to 6. I'll take them as 1 to 6 because there are 6 such variables which need to be there on the x-axis. Then, because there are 5 variables, y variables, I'll do it 5 times. So my data, because the x and y data have to be numeric. So I have associated each year as a numerical number 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, for each player, I am assigning a value. Okay. So up to here, these are the ones. And from here, I'll keep adding up 1. So now all combinations have come up. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 kind of combinations. Now I am trying to use the index to pull out the value from this combination. So this is my array. On this array, the row, first column. So this is the first row, first column. First row, first column. Right? So first row, second column, first row, third column. Like that, first row, 6 columns. So now it shows that these are the numbers. First row, second column, first row, third column, these are the numbers. Now what I am doing is, I will want to plot a bubble because my data should be in this format to plot a bubble chart. It can't be in a matrix format. It should be with x variables, y variables and a bubble variables, or 3-dimensional, 3 data elements should be there. So I have modified my textual data into this format. But if I use the original chart as it is, my bubble will be plotted with these as the scale. X-axis will be 1 to 6, y-axis will be 1 to 5 kind of thing. But they don't reflect the names of the players or anything. So what I am doing is, okay, I'll plot the bubble with this data itself. But whatever the bubble output that comes, I'll bring and superimpose it on that data in this location. Or to make it even more, right now I'll make this as text, as a white colored, so that there is no data looking there. Now what I am doing is I am plotting a simple bubble chart. Just a small shortened version of what we have done. I am plotting a simple bubble chart where I'll take a select data. I'll add a data. Probably let me not name anything to start with. Anyhow, we are going to delete the name. The x-axis, the years are there on the x-axis. So the years, these are the 6 years. So I'll take from here till the last on the x-axis. Similarly, I am taking the y-axis. The players are there on the y-axis. So I'll take from here to here. And the bubble, the values are there on the bubble. So I'll take from here to here. So based on this, there is a bubble chart that got plotted more in this format. Okay, let me even remove this part. So this is the bubble that got plotted. Now what I simply require is, this has plotted from 1 to 6 like this. But my 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 players are from the vertical direction. They are not in this bottom to top direction, top to bottom direction. So to adjust that, I am selecting this, formatting the axis, where I am saying plot the values in the reverse order, first thing. And then the minimum value at that intersection is starting at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the maximum value is only 5, because there are only 5 players in my list. So once I do that, I am getting a graph in this mechanism. Then similarly, in case of horizontal also, I have only 6 years. So even this horizontal, I'll change the format axis. Minimum I'll keep it as 0. Maximum I am going to make it 6, because there are only 6-year data. Alright. And I don't need it in the reverse order at least. So I'll keep it as it is. Now I am doing some kind of formatting on this data. First thing I am doing is removing these grid lines. Okay. I am removing all these grid lines. And I don't need even these axes. So I'll remove this axis. I'll remove this axis also. And I'll make the size of this bubbles, let's say, to 10. Slightly simplifying the number. So these are what are the values that are coming up. Now what I am doing is taking this and exactly trying to superimpose it on this location. Taking this and trying to superimpose it on this location. Right, and as a part of this, I also don't want, probably the bubbles are looking very small, so I'll try to slightly increase the bubble size. Not probably 10, let me make it some 20. Yeah, even then they are looking smaller. I'll increase the bubble size. Okay, now slightly sizable kind of bubble. Now what I am doing is, this entire plot area I am trying to combine. Okay, now I have tried to combine this entire plot area. Yeah, and now I'll remove the formatting. I'll remove the format chart area, where I'll make it no fill and border also as no fill, and even the plot area also I'm making it no fill, and border also no fill. Now as a part of it, what is simply coming out is, in each of these locations, I am seeing that my bubble is plotted in each of these locations. For each of these players, the bubble is plotted in that corresponding location. So based on that, I can very well make out who has scored the better in each of these performances. Or probably to make it, because the last ones are getting cut off a little bit, to make it better, what I can do is, I'll increase the axis by one more. Instead of directly choosing only 6 or 5 exactly, what I'll do is, on the horizontal axis, I'll increase the number to 7. Okay, and on the vertical axis, I'll increase the axis to 6. Now a little bit. Okay, now again I'll delete these axes so that values don't get cut. That's the only intention in increasing it. Okay, now when I select this, and I delete this. Okay, now this looks much better in terms of presentation. Yeah, now you see year wise and person wise. Yeah, now this is looking much better. You see person wise, and in that particular cell, I have clearly plotted how much did each of these persons in score in each of these years. The size of the bubble is telling me their years of good performance. So probably if I look at this person, he has done pretty well in 2008 and 2009, but 2010 seems to be a slightly a weaker patch compared to the previous period. Or probably for this person, 8 and 9 are moderate periods, but 10 he has improved compared to the previous. So I mean, you can very well make based on the size of the bubble, even if the bubble is not, even if it is not full size, a little bit of more size, which can help you in your comparison. But again, with the increase of the bubble, even your formatting and the other areas should take care of. But once you are plotting it, at least the interpretation or different way of presenting your data. This is again a different way of presenting your data, where probably if I simply want to see the top 5 performances, probably I may say, yeah, for this person, or in 2007 he is the top performer. 2008 probably these two guys are Dhoni and Gambhir are the better performers. 2010 Kohli happens to be a better performer. 2011 only also he happens to be a better performer. At least the size of the bubble is telling us very much. And in 2012 he happens to be a very worst performer compared to the other lot. So that kind of area plotting is simply happening through the bubble. Now if I have my data in a very small volume, I can very well utilize it to plot a bubble chart. But yeah, the more larger the data is, superimposing and everything will take some amount of effort. But the key part in that bubble chart is this part. Transforming your textual variables into numbers. Because plotting the bubble chart with 3 different types of numbers is a very common bubble. Like the example which we looked at yesterday, the stock price. 3 number variables. You plot the relation between them. But if there is a textual variable and I want to bring out that relationship, probably even this side also it could be a textual variable. Both sides there could be a textual variable, but at the intersection I want put the bubble. Then I can still depend on this kind of a mechanism. And of course, some kind of formatting of the bubble and all can very well happen to suit to our requirement. Even you can get the values and all also on the bubble. But rather than getting the values, probably the size of the bubble itself should be significant enough in terms of explaining the graph for us. This is again another way, especially when you have multiple values and you want to see the size of the impact of each of the variables, you can very well use the bubble chart to arrive at it. Right?